The average man in America has less than one true friend. In 2023, the Surgeon General said, "We are facing a loneliness epidemic." I want to change that. You don't have to be alone. Dude, you need a friend. A friend who can help you make better choices, move with more of who you are, and live a better, fuller life for yourself and the world around you. I believe we can change the world if we can change friendship. This is the 7 Daily Choices Friendship Project Podcast, and that's what we're doing. So, hey, this is Jack Mann, my friend from the last 8 years or so here at the Martial Arts Dojo. We met. But Jack, tell us a little bit about yourself. Let people know kind of who you are.
I'm a retired police officer. I spent 21 years at Xenia Police Department. And at that point, I ended up having to retire. My body had just been beat up too much. And since then, I try and take care of my son, who's still growing up. He's far outgrown me so far. But like I say, just doing what I can.
Doing what you can. I remember I was driving by the parking lot the other day and coming over here, and I saw your truck, and I was ready to wave at you, and it wasn't you. This Boyd driving. You were in the truck, I think, but Boyd was driving. I'm like, oh, all right. Yeah, he's getting older and bigger and doing all great things.
Yeah.
So, first things first, what do you remember about our friendship starting?
Well, I don't know if you'll even remember this. You had, what was her name? A little girl by the name of Barr. She was testing for her black belt, and I think one of your daughters was testing at the same time.
Yeah, Lena and Morgan would have been testing on the same day.
Okay. And I came to watch that.
Really? No, I do not remember that.
I was there, and I think I was the first one there, and nobody else had come yet. And we talked for a few moments, and I thought, hey, we hit off pretty good. He seems to be a nice guy. So that was the first time that I ever met you. I'd heard about you from the bars at church. We would talk about, and they were telling me about their karate training and so forth. And then I ran into Dale at Song and a Story. I forget who he was there with, but he was taking one of his kids there, and I was taking my son there. And I heard him and Sensei Andy talking about karate training, and I sat and listened for a while, and I finally thought, I got to jump in on this. So I went over and asked them where they trained, who they were, and I told them who I was, and I came to class that next night and been loving it ever since.
Man, I had no idea any of that backstory. That is all brand new news. That is awesome. So you met me and my other two head senseis at the time.
Yes.
And that really, wow, that's really cool. Then you came to class and
Yes.
joined in, and you handed me a resume that was like seven pages, front and back, single spaced, all the stuff you did. And all I could think was, why are you in my class? Why are you not teaching me? Why are you in my class? And I remember asking you that, and you said, well, I like to learn.
Mm-hmm.
I like to learn. I was like, well, alrighty then. So here's the thing. This journey for us it started with the martial arts, but we now have spiritual life together, we have martial arts together, we've helped raise your son. I've got a little bit of influence, which has been nice. We have similar friends. What do you think shaped friendship out of what was initially just a business arrangement, basically, for you to come to class?
Openness. You were open. I tried to be open. And whenever any questions were to come up, it wasn't like, ooh, can I really ask him about that? I had no problems asking because I knew you had always been open and honest with me. And
all right. That's, man, so I didn't give you these questions ahead of time. I'm going to like this even more. So over the years, you and when you talk about openness in particular, we teach martial arts together now. Mm-hmm. And I mean, for those who don't know, you have so much more experience in martial arts than I will ever have time to get. But you have stayed open to always learning new things, and you continue to teach with us. Why'd you stay?
I enjoyed the atmosphere. There's a godly atmosphere here, and following your lead, most folks here are very open and honest about what they need, what they want, and so there's not a lot of games of politics. In a lot of dojos, there's just so much politics get going on. You know, how can I get ahead of this one, or how can I beat this one out? And I've never gotten that here, and I enjoy that. It's a peaceful atmosphere. I know we're working in the warrior ways, but it's very, there's a peace about working out here.
Speaking of politics and warrior ways, 20 years in the police force. So when you look for a friend, what are you looking for?
I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
So much of the time, friends that I've made, I'll find out much farther down the road that we have similar backgrounds. Other times, I'll find that we have completely different backgrounds. So it's not like I'm looking for a carbon copy of me.
Right.
And it's also not like I'm looking for a negative of me to balance things out. It just, the good Lord leads, and you take what you're given.
Okay. You spent a lot of time over the last 4 or 5 years, not just with me in martial arts, but we've done groups together. You've supported different times we've tried to reach out to other men. You kind of have this openness to just show up and be present when that stuff's going on. What do you think it is that draws you and causes you to want to, I guess, be available in those circumstances? Because there's no requirements on you, and yet you keep showing up.
It's the good Lord. He tells us we need to reach out to our fellow man, to lead them to Him, to give them comfort. And those opportunities that you offer here allow me to do that. I can't say that I would be out searching those opportunities. And here they're kind of just laid in my lap. And it's like, okay, I can do that.
Okay. So the chance, it's interesting, I've had 2 other conversations where we've talked about the opportunity to connect.
Mm-hmm.
We can't create connection. We can create the opportunity for people to choose to connect. A connection comes because we choose to give ourselves. What do you find strengthens and builds friendship among men the best? What do you think is the key elements there?
Sharing.
Sharing. Tell me more.
If you've got guys that they're constantly trying to be that macho, I'm the tough guy, you never get an honest opinion. You never get an honest look at their personality of who they really are. And when you're a person that shares, you're given that open look immediately, and that allows you to feel more comfort and allows you to open up yourself. So that sharing, I think, is vital.
What do you think breaks friendships?
Lack of communication.
Again, tell me more. Jack, in short answers. Here we go.
Well, so much of the time, when friends have a lack of communication, I guess, when they completely lock up and they're not sharing what's going on, others can't understand the stress that they're going through or the good times that they're going through. They don't understand, and they feel shut out. And so if friends share more with one another, it allows your friend to see, hey, these are some tough times I'm going through and I need some help, whether it's prayer or a hand up or whatever you need. And if you're not doing that sharing, those around you don't know to help, to give you that hand up. And sometimes we come off thinking, well, they don't care anything about me. And they don't know.
Right. In your life, are there times when you found it uncomfortable or unsafe to share, and why?
Absolutely. There are times when I felt very uncomfortable in sharing anything because I either knew or I suspected that those things would be used against me down the road. And with a true friend, it's never going to be used against you. It's always going to be used to help you.
Yeah.
But you get burned so many times, and you begin to get gun shy. You're not wanting to share anything.
Yeah. It's easy to close up.
Very.
It's easy to close up. But one of the things I've enjoyed about you is not only do you show up, but you keep opening up. You keep trying. And as a guy who's been through so many battles, literally of your own, physical as well as political and other kinds of things in your life, and as a guy who's been through good friendships and had some break, what is it that makes you keep trying?
Again, the good Lord. I know at church they sing a song, I know I'm not done because I'm not dead.
Mm.
And sometimes that's a tough pill to swallow, because sometimes you think, I'm done. I've got nothing left. I've given everything I've got. I've got nothing left. But if you're still on this side of the dirt, God ain't done with you.
I want to dive into something with you. I haven't got to with anybody else, but as I'm sitting here with you, I'm thinking this is someplace you and I should go. So you've seen some of the worst tragedies of broken families, broken relationships, broken people, being on the police force. How do you think friendship, real friendship, having friends who will be there with you and tell you what's wrong and tell you what's going on, can change that? Or can it?
It can, definitely. Sometimes just being an open ear. A lot of the times when we would go on different calls, whether it's a domestic neighbor dispute, all anybody really wanted was somebody to listen to them. And so if you allow them the time to just vent, just get it out, a lot of times that's all they needed.
Yeah.
But then there's other times when it's far past that, and when it gets past that, it gets really tough to repair any kind of working relationship. I went on a call one time of a neighbor dispute, and it was two elderly couples. And the couple on one side, they were complaining that this guy was always cussing them out and being aggressive toward them and all this. Well, I find out later on that this gentleman's going through dementia. Mm. And so the other side, the family that was complaining, they didn't know that. And even while I was there, the guy got very aggressive, and he was a big man. And the family that's the victims of this whole thing, they're looking at me like, why aren't you locking him up? And the wife is just begging with me, officer, you know what's going on. And so we ended up not locking him up. I referred him to the prosecutor, but after I separated the parties, I let the victim neighbors know, hey, this is what's going on with the guy. And they were sympathetic, but they said, this can't go on. I said, I understand that, and we're going to take care of that. And so we did a little more to get him some help, and it kept the neighbors safe. It consoled this guy's poor wife, because she's seeing this large, strong man that had always been her protector, that he's just, he's breaking down now.
Yeah. It's interesting how the story sometimes, all you need is the story, right?
Yeah.
We had these neighbors who live across the street from us, and for the first 7-8 years we lived in our house, there was nothing except the one time my wife accidentally hit their car. I mean, like no connection. They almost seemed mean and standoffish. We didn't. And then one day, she comes over and she knocks on my door and she says, we haven't introduced ourselves. My name's Judy, and the lady who lives next door to you, she's in the hospital. And her favorite thing every day was to watch your kids play in the backyard.
Oh.
Is there any chance you would be willing to give me a picture of the girls for her to have in her hospital room?
Oh.
I was like, well, yeah, that's easy. So I went and got a picture. I gave it to him. I was a pallbearer in that lady's funeral.
Oh.
I don't know her name. But the Adams and us, we've become a surrogate family to them. We've showed up this last year at Thanksgiving. They came over for Thanksgiving because they said, we have nobody. We're like, Oh, well, then you have us. Um, all because we started to share our stories. We started to share our stories. I'm sure that there have been times in your past when someone who was a friend called you out well.
Mhm.
How does that work for you?
It hurts.
Yeah?
It hurts. It hurts deep. But once things settle down, you realize it was done out of love.
Yeah.
They weren't looking to hurt me in any way. They were looking to help me.
Yeah.
And so that initial hurt, that'll go away.
Yeah.
And if they've got any kind of insight to being a friend at all, that will go away, and they'll understand that what you did was out of love and not out of meanness or hate or anything of that nature.
Yeah. In our friendship, I've noticed for a guy who spent so much time on the streets, you hate conflict. You like do not like conflict at all.
You're right.
And yet, sometimes we need someone to challenge us well.
Mm-hmm.
What do you find is difficult when it's time to challenge a friend? What do you find is hard about that for being the challenger?
Fearing losing that friend. There have been some friends that I did confront because I thought they need this, and I lost that friend and I never got them back. And I still think what I did was right, but it really hurts deep, that you did lose that friend.
Yeah. Nobody likes to lose our friends, and it's part of the reason. Again, we oftentimes won't take the risk, but if we don't take the risk, then we have no friends.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm reminded of a couple as you say that who they just chose to not accept challenge from me anymore. One in particular. So maybe he'll hear this someday and he'll know that I still love him and wish the best for him. But is there anything, if you were right now, you were sitting with another guy and he basically said, I got no one. I got no one. What would you tell him to do first? What would be your first recommendation?
Come over and give me a hug. If you got no one, you got me. And
Oh, man.
I ain't much, I know that. But I recently ran into a gentleman that he's in a real tough spot. And I gave him my name and my number. I said, you need anything, you call me. And I said, I may not be able to get it right away, but I'll do my dogdest to get it for you eventually. And you could see it meant a lot to him. I still pray for him. Hope everything works out all right for him. I've heard from him a couple of times and things seem to be on the upside, so.
Good. As we're doing this for other people, I just immediately feel like I need to ask this. The week leading up to Christmas and Christmas Eve, how do you and the wife get all the toys ready for all the children all over the world? Okay, if you don't know, Jack's Santa Claus. And if you haven't recognized that, he's just the kindest person. All right. So, sorry. If you're not watching this, you're just listening to this, you won't get that. But go watch it on YouTube, you'll get it. There is this gentleness to you. I see. The other night, we have a student that's returned. She's been gone for a while, and she's returned. And the first week she came back, is Sensei Jack going to be here? And I said, I don't know. He's been, and you were there the next week. But what is it that makes you, or that gives you the freedom to reach out to almost anybody and say, I'll do whatever I can?
Just the way I was raised, I guess.
Okay.
I know I've tried to reach out and help some folks, and you get your face smacked, and that happens. But after it's happened once, you realize not that big of a deal, so you can stick the hand out there again to see if you can help. And If it gets slapped away, that's fine, but I can settle in my own mind, I tried.
So losing hurts,
Yes,
but it doesn't kill you.
right.
And winning will give you life for years to come, right?
Yes.
All right, so there's a guy. He's listening to the podcast, one of the three, and he's alone. So he can't get a hug from you, but he needs to go somewhere.
Right.
Where does he go?
Your local church is probably the best place, because most churches anymore, they have connections with homeless shelters, with places for them to get food. They have people that can either give you the number or serve in that capacity as suicide prevention. As our world gets turned more and more upon its head, that seems to be the one answer that a lot of people are turning to, is suicide. And once they've made that decision and that's done, it can never be taken back. And it hurts so many more than it helps. And I've seen situations where we would go on a call and somebody were to commit suicide, and of course it's never a pretty scene, of course, but everyone that I've been to, it's always been such a lonely scene. And whenever you contact their relatives, their friends, oh my goodness, I had no idea he was in that state of mind, and they had people they could reach out to, but they just didn't reach. My brother-in-law, he had a friend that he and this guy, they were good friends, real close, and this individual started having to take some medication. I think it was a heart medication, but one of the side effects was suicidal thoughts. And one morning, my brother-in-law got that call that that individual's gone. He had eat a bullet that night, and it like to kill him. He said, I knew he was having troubles. He said, we've talked and talked. And he said, I thought we were past it. And it just didn't go.
Let's run down this trail just a minute. It's a sad trail. It's a difficult trail. My daughter experienced a similar thing just a year or two ago. One of her best friends from high school decided to end her life. And all the grief stages seem to have a different tint to them than with other things. How do we stop? How do we stop people from deciding they're so alone that nobody will care if they're gone?
Well, I don't think we are going to stop it. Satan is the king of this world, and to him, that's one of the greatest solutions. Because once it's done, God's got no way of getting a hold of you after you're gone, after you've made that last decision. So I think it's just going to continue to get worse and worse as this world goes on.
Well, that's depressing.
Yes, it is.
I guess part of why we started this is because I'm like, we got to be able to be friends.
Yeah.
Right?
Because we've got that ultimate friend in Jesus. If we look to Jesus, he can lift our spirits. He can pull us out of that.
Do you also think that if more of us were making the effort to be friends rather than just have friends, how does it shift the perspective when you're reaching out rather than looking for someone to reach out to you? How does that shift things?
Looking for someone to reach in for you can be quite depressing, because a lot of the times in a lot of circles you won't find people reaching out to help you, and it can wear you down really quick. If you're the one always reaching out, you may not get a friend out of everyone that you tried, but you're going to make some friends that way, because there's always somebody looking for a friend. I know I've got a lot of friends in this world, thank you, Lord, but I've never got too many. I can always use more, because when time for prayer comes, when times for rejoicing comes, when times for mourning come, you can always use another friend.
How many do you call? When it's
Oh,
desperate or it's over the top joy, how many do you call?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. I've got a long list of friends that I would call in the bad situations. And in the good situations as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Who do you call first?
Probably
After.
you.
Yeah. All right. I mean, after Becky and Boyd, right?
Right.
They're first. Yeah. Great. That's good to know. I think, I hope, more people can say what you just said. I never have enough. Because I think part of what my joy in being friends with you is I see a guy who is less concerned about how many he has as how many he can love. How many people can I reach out to? How many people can I affect today? I'm going to ask you because I'm convicted. I'm going to share. Everybody's going to know this. So there's a guy who started coming to church just a few weeks ago, and I introduced myself to him the first day. We connected the first day. I'm not sure what it was that connected us. It wasn't a deep conversation. Didn't have a lot. But then I saw him there again yesterday, and I said, "Hey," and I got his name right, which you know. When I got his name right, and we had a little more conversation. He walked away. He came back and asked about the young adult ministry because he's my daughter's age, right? And so I immediately took him to introduce him to my daughter and future son-in-law because they're in that group. I'm not in that group, right? So I took him in and introduced him. Since then, I felt like maybe I missed something. Like there was something more I should have done or could have done. What do I do? I'm asking your advice for other people too.
Go back and reconnect.
Okay.
Look him up. Hey, did you find what you were looking for? Is there anything else I can help you with?
Yeah.
Hey, would you want to go get a cup of coffee? It's funny I say that because I hate coffee.
Well, yeah,
it's just a coffee.
A drink, a
Yeah.
hamburger. That's something Dale said. Go get a hamburger. And there's nothing weird. I mean, you can make it weird, but as guys, it's okay to say, "Hey, you want to go get a burger next week? You want to get together?" We have one of the connections we have that is unique from most of my other friends. I got one other of my close friends who's going to be in these first 9 episodes that comes, but we do the fire now. And interestingly, when I was going to start the fire, you had a friend who was going to come who's never showed up. But what do you think the fire does to help men draw together? How does it work? What do you think it is?
I think it helps them relax. They let their guard down just a little bit to let somebody in. Because when you're there, all's dark around you and you've got that fire. You can see what's going on, but it's not like sitting out in the middle of a parking lot on a bright sunny day. Right. If you're in the middle of an empty parking lot sitting there, you're constantly looking around, what's behind me, what's beside me, because there's just nothing around. Right. And in that darkness, a veil comes down, which takes a lot away. Now, I know like in the Old West times, that meant danger was beyond where the light went. But it didn't work out that way all the time. We have all these stories of cowboys camping out, and they didn't die of these gross, massive deaths. And it's the same for us. I mean, I know there's shootings going on, robberies, attackings, but you've had how many fires? I've had how many fires at my home with friends and family, and it's not been a massive, terrible, awful thing. It's been a very nice, settling thing. You tend to relax and you tend to let your guard down a little bit.
Cool.
And I know at your bonfires, you'll see all sorts of guys that will open up just a little.
Yeah.
Whether it's talking about the way they see a scripture or talking about what happened with them and their little ones that day. You'll see that guard let down a little bit.
I like that our fires don't have a plan. We're just showing up to be together, and we let it go where it's going to go. And the guys who gather around most of our fires are Christian. I mean, we don't exclusively invite Christians. This last one, a guy brought root beer for everybody, and I thought, would I be okay if it wasn't root beer? If it was beer. Now, I wouldn't drink it because I don't like beer. But would we be okay if somebody showed up and they brought beer? How would we respond to that? Because I don't want to limit to just Christians, because I want to open the door for those who don't know Jesus
Right.
to be a part of that. But at the same time, that's who we've had, and so I don't want to create a barrier for people either. I don't know. We'll see what God does with it, right? It's one of those things where I just started. God said, "Light the fire." I lit the fire. We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, Jack, let's do this. Before we go, just give me in one synopsis, to tell guys what you love about having friends.
Oh my. They give you strength. They give you hope. They give you comfort. The Bible talks about having a friend close is better than having a brother far away. When my sister passed away, she lived in West Virginia, so we didn't get to interact that much, but I loved her dearly. And I knew she had a lady there at her home church that to her she was as close as a sister. And that woman was a great comfort to my sister, even in her end times. And the benefits and the power of having and being a friend just can't be overstated.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Friendship is hard. It takes intentionality. But with intentionality, it becomes a joy and a strength in your life. So listen, let's be friends.